Okay, we are live. Hi, ladies. Welcome in. It is so wonderful to be with you. We are talking about suffering today, how to become immune to suffering. And specifically, the type of suffering that we're talking about is the ones that we create. The one that leaves us in our head anxious and scared and blocked from our dreams, blocked from creating. I'm going to help you cut that out and give you the inner work remedy, the inner work medicine to get rid of that once and for all, because life is too short. There's way too many things that you are here to do and to experience and to feel. And when you are in this mode of creating suffering, it massively blocks your feminine energy. So let's talk about it. Let's get into it. I was saying in the beginning that YouTube, whenever I live stream, it has this awkward 20-second pause and it never captures the intro. So I have to wait. If you saw me staring at the camera, thank you so much for waiting. Hi ladies, so good to be with you. So where this idea came from, I feel like the last 5 videos that we've had here have all been inspired either by something happening in my life or a comment that I've received. And this video has come from a comment. And this comment was so funny to me because it's exactly how I used to be. And it took me back to being in that mindset. And I thought, wow, I cannot imagine if I was still thinking this way. So a few weeks ago, I had created a video called Quantum Physics Meets Feminine Energy. And one thing that I was teaching in that video was that if you want to expand your rubber band, if you want to expand your mind, let's say if you want to go from making $5,000 a month to making $15,000, how do you do that? Well, one of the tips that I had given in that video is you have to surround yourself with people who are at that level so that your rubber band can stretch without snapping. My girls that have been with me for a while, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If you are new to this channel, I would recommend watching Quantum Physics Meets Feminine Energy because I explain what the rubber band is in there. And so what I was saying is that rather than you being a big fish in a little pond, what I want you to do is to be the small fish in the big pond. I want you to be at networking events. I want you to be in friend groups where you are the small fish and you are surrounded with people who have better love lives, better incomes, they're better dressed, they speak better, everything is a level above so that you can look at them and your rubber band can be stretched. That is how you are going to grow. And I talk about how I have even done this in my friendships. And one of the comments that I received was, well, Alexis, even small fish get eaten by whales. And I was thinking, this is crazy. No matter what I could have said, there's always going to be one person who will take that and suffer from it. So when I said go and be a small fish in a big pond, the response was small fish get eaten by whales. I can't do that. And yes, I know it's a metaphor, but if this is actually showing the way that someone's mind works, it's to be wired for suffering. And I absolutely used to be like this. It took so much inner work to get out of that. Once I was out of it, everything changed because what I was actually doing when this was my mindset was I was attracting whales to come and swallow me because that's what I believed. I believed, you know what, rather than seeing big fish around me doing incredible things and actually becoming that, because now I'm swimming in that pond, I'm going to go and I'm going to search out for the whales because that's what my mind is wired to do. That is what we do as humans. And so if you notice that you do this, this video is going to save you. It is going to turn your life around. And I guarantee that there's probably still small ways that creating suffering is popping up in your life. Sometimes we just don't see it. And so hopefully by the end of this video, you will see it, cut it out, feed yourself this inner work medicine. All right, ladies, welcome in. So I want to begin with why do we do this before moving into the remedies? Well, number one, and if you're in Master Your Feminine Energy, you will know this so well because I drill it into you there, that when you understand the brain and understand how our body and our mind works, it will click so clear for you. So the example that I love to give is, let's say that you were a kid and you grew up in a very, very toxic household. And let's say that your parents were always screaming. Let's say that maybe you had a parent who was very emotionally and physically abusive to you. Well, when that happens and you cannot even move throughout the house without walking on eggshells and without fearing I'm going to get yelled at, someone's going to get hurt, I'm going to get degraded. When you feel this fear, what's happening as a kid especially is your mind is swimming in all of these chemicals. And you'll see how this plays out as an adult. It is crazy, the connection. Your mind is swimming in all of these chemicals as a kid, and do you know what those chemicals are? It's fear, probably unworthiness, because as a kid you're thinking, why is this happening to me? I must deserve this environment. And it's constantly in this mode of stress. Stress is actually the root of suffering. And so let's say you're 7, 8 years old, your mind is constantly swimming in this stress. Well, now what happens when you grow up and you become a teenager? Your brain has been so wired to swim in this hormone of stress that sadly it's become familiar for your brain. Sadly, it has become the default. And so people who grow up in chaotic home environments, and I'll actually give another example, even if you didn't, this can still happen. It's a very, very sneaky way that this can happen. When you grow up in this type of environment, unfortunately, what your brain feels is safe and familiar is stress. And so now you grow up as a teenager and now as an adult, and because your mind has been so programmed to be swimming in this stress, what will happen is as an adult, when there is no stress, you will create it. Because when your brain feels that it's in this environment that is unfamiliar, it does not feel safe. That is why it's very, very hard to go from being with a very, very toxic partner to an amazing, a healthy, a kind, masculine man. Usually, there's no attraction to him. You have to grow, and that is what these remedies are going to do. It's going to reshape your mind. This is why I love neuroscience. Because of the concept, neuroplasticity, because of the way that our mind is designed to be like plastic. Thank God God created our mind to be like plastic and not glass, because you have the power to take your mind and to mold it, to be programmed any way that you would like. And so unfortunately, as an adult, when your mind is still in this mode of stress, and that is what you feel is your normal, you will constantly seek that out. So that is the foundation of this whole video, is understanding the foundation that if your mind is swimming in stress, if you have not reprogrammed it to be wired for peace, it is going to be very, very difficult to stop creating suffering. But luckily, the easiest part is being aware that this might be the default of your mind, and that is how you begin to switch it. So people who did not grow up in chaotic home environments, why does this still happen? Well, let's say that you were a teenager, you had very, very amazing parents, you had a happy home, and suddenly in school, you start taking calculus. Or no, let's do chemistry, because this is actually something that happened to me. You start taking chemistry, and for the first time, maybe you've always been a straight A student, for the first time you get a C after you take chemistry. You're 16 years old, life was looking good until this chemistry class came. Well, now you see your first C and you start freaking out. Oh my gosh, my GPA, but college, what am I gonna do? Well, now this experience has become traumatic for your brain. And what happens is your safety is compromised. And so now this highly stressful event of failing chemistry is at the top of your mind, and for weeks, maybe for months, you're swimming around in it. Maybe then you have to take summer school to make up for the class. Summer school, you still fail chemistry. This has become an extremely traumatic event, and maybe this sounds dramatic, but I have to be this extreme because this is what will make you see that there were events that happened in your life that you passed off as being no big deal, but actually they completely shaped the way that your mind works now. And so experiences like this that caused major stress for your body, maybe it was getting rejected by a guy that you liked, maybe it was your prom date canceling on you and you had to go alone, whatever it was, usually in these years before your frontal lobe develops, so 24 years old and below. These years is where your brain is learning to decide what is going to be our natural state. Do you know those people who are just, they always seem so at peace, they always seem so at rest? Their natural state has been wired that way, and they keep creating those experiences as a result. And so even if you didn't grow up in a chaotic home environment, this is how you can start becoming addicted to stress, is because one thing may have happened. Now your mind is swimming in these chemicals. And one important thing that I forgot to mention is that when your brain starts swimming in these chemicals, it's almost like an addiction with drugs or with alcohol or with smoking. That first experience is such a high, that first traumatic, stressful experience, that the next time your brain goes through stress, it has to create more because it's not enough. It has to get back to how painful, how heightened that emotion was when you were first stressed. So can you see the problem? And can you see why people start to create their own suffering? There's people who I see in my life, I'm like, why are you creating this experience? It could have been so much easier. You wouldn't have had these troubles, whether it's with men or with finances. You can see it so clear when you're on the outside, but sometimes it's hard to see for ourselves. Okay, let me check in with what you ladies are saying, then we'll move on. Ah, welcome in, ladies. It's so good to be live with you. I actually really wanted to do last week's video live. It was the one about how to deal with hate comments, how to deal with judgment, criticism, which, by the way, ladies, your comments on that video have been everything. I so appreciate them, and I'm so glad that we did that video. I was nervous to make that video, but I'm so grateful that we did because I feel like someone needed to hear it. It was some of the deepest work that I've ever done in my life. And after I kind of close that chapter, I know, okay, it's time to share with the girls. So I had someone that was coming to my house last week, and they were supposed to come at 1. I had started filming that video at like 12:15. I was like, okay, maybe I'm just gonna try to hurry. And I thought, no, I don't want to go live because if I have to answer in the middle, that would just disrupt it. So I'm so happy to be live with you now. Oh, hello, Stella. Hello from Greece. Hello from London. Yes. How do we rewire our mind for peace and break our addiction to stress? So happy that you asked, girl. Let's get into it. Anything else that I wanted to say? Okay, 2 more things on this, why we suffer. So number 1, it's the chemicals, again, looking for that release after a major stressful life event. Number 2, it's because the world encourages it. Think about every TV show, every movie. We love seeing people suffer. Look at every single Disney movie. Before the princess in the movie gets her crown or gets her prince, she goes through this trial of suffering. So we as kids are growing up and we're watching this, and what it's teaching is, okay, before I get the reward, I have to go through the suffering. And I do want to say too that there's a difference in the suffering that God gives us, because we will go through suffering in life. That's just what it is, being a human. And that to me is not negative. However, the suffering that we are talking about in this video is specifically created suffering. Suffering that comes from our mind, suffering that keeps us locked in that anxiety and stress and continues to replay. You'll know if you are suffering because it feels like you're always rushing. It feels like everything that you do is a chore. It feels like everything that you do is marking off a to-do list. Like, okay, let me just get this week done. Let me just get this day done. Let me just get this task on. Then I can be at peace. You are in a mode of self-created suffering if that is happening, and I want to get you out of it. So that was number 2, the world encourages it. Number 3 is why we suffer is because we seek more pleasure than discipline. And I'm gonna get into this more in depth. So I also saw a meme. This was so funny how many women in this community reposted it. So I saw this meme, and it was like a person doing their hair or something, and it said, me waiting until the last possible minute to get ready so that I can stress and rush while I'm doing my hair and makeup. I was thinking, this is so relatable. How many of us sleep in later or wait till the last minute? That is creating suffering, and it's keeping this loop of stress hormones flowing. And I want to just, I want to take all those hormones and go, no more, because they carry into our health, they carry into our relationships, our businesses. If you ladies could have seen my business when I first started versus now, first as a coach versus now, it's completely different. I was creating a 9-to-5. I was creating bosses for myself that didn't even exist because it felt too good to have my dream business that I needed to come in and create some sort of suffering. I talk about this with my business students in Divine and Aligned. It's so easy to fall into the trap of doing that. Okay, so how people get stuck here. So there's going to be about 5 points that we talk about, and for each point, I'm going to give you a remedy. I love natural medicine. I love natural herbs. I love everything holistic health. So I'm kind of thinking of this as the remedies are going to be those holistic herbs to help you snap out of that suffering. So number one, always having a but what if. So the person who had commented, and I love this person so much, I hope that they're watching this video, when I had said, go and be a small fish in a big pond, and they said, but even small fish get eaten by whales. That mindset is a but what if mindset. And why this is so dangerous is because for every experience, and most importantly, every blessing that you are about to receive, you block it by going, but what if? And it shifts you from the energy of receiving it and from allowing yourself to have it to blocking that blessing completely. Okay, so here's an example. So most of you ladies have guessed this by now that I am getting a pet. He's gonna be coming on April 1st. I cannot wait for you to meet him. And I was telling someone that I was getting a pet, or actually I was telling multiple people about this. Guess what majority of the responses were when I shared that I was getting a pet? But Alexis, how are you going to travel? They're not even the ones experiencing the pet, but they are creating the stress by asking the question. They are living out the scenario. What's Alexis gonna do when she tries to travel now? We do this by taking other people's experience, putting it in our own head, and stressing. It's like we're so low on this drug of stress that we have to go and be in other people's experience and cause chaos. And it was so interesting as I observed this because I thought, wow, it's such a strange question because my mom would always tell my siblings and I, when there's a will, there's a way. When you want something, you make it work. And so I had shared with one of my girlfriends, one of my close girlfriends here in Dubai, that I was getting a pet, or this is actually when I was still thinking about it. And the first thing she says is, Alexis, when you travel, I'll watch him for you. I would be happy to. And I thought, oh, okay, that's so nice. I was gonna maybe hire someone or put him in one of the daycares or just bring him with me. And she offered someone that I love and trust, already has it taken care of. And so the reason why I bring up this example is because when we automatically go to the but what if, it blocks the blessing from us ever receiving that. And I know this because I have done this. I remember years ago when my mom got our dog for the first time, I started asking, well, how are we going to travel now? You can't do this, you can't do that. And I was blocking myself from ever being able to give myself a pet because I had all of these limiting beliefs coming up. And that's the thing, the but what ifs, they're always limiting beliefs. Always, always. Because where someone is stuck going, well, now she can't travel. I have another friend over here going, I'll happily take her dog for her. Okay, I didn't want to say that I was getting a dog, but now you ladies know. I was going to keep it a surprise. So the reason why I bring this up is because you have to become conscious where you are asking, but what if? And here's the remedy for it. Start asking, but what if it works out? Instead, every time you catch yourself, but what if this? Turn, but what if it works out instead? The remedy is truly opening up your heart. You have to do this to experience love. Think about it. To let a romantic partner in, you could go, but what if he hurts me? But what if our relationship ends? But what if he's just like my ex? Or you could say, but what if this is the greatest love that I've ever experienced? But what if this love heals me so much that all of those doubts and limiting beliefs that I had, they're completely gone? Start asking, what if it actually works out amazing? And open up your heart. Think about specifically romantic love because it will help you to see that when you are closing your heart because you're asking, but what if, you're closing yourself off from that person coming. No man can come and open up your heart when you have an ice cold shield over it going, nope, I'm too hurt. What if this? What if that? This is why I love feminine energy because it softens you up so much to where now you feel so safe. You trust yourself because you're connected to your body. You trust yourself because you've been learning how to set boundaries. You've been doing your inner work. And so now your brain feels it's safe to open up my heart because I trust myself and I've done the inner work to know whether this person is right for me or not. And so now that your heart is open, you can receive. An open heart is it's the most attractive thing on a person. It is the most attractive thing. I forget which course I was talking about this. I think it was probably magnetically polarizing. I was telling the girls in there that if I was giving them this experiment. No, actually, I think it was Master Your Feminine Energy. I was giving them this experiment that when they walk down the street, I want them to practice this. I want them to practice their heart opening up, their shoulders are back, feeling like she is the most beautiful person in the world. And this is like a homework activity that I was giving them. And I said, you don't have to actually be the most beautiful person in the world. You don't have to like doll yourself up and do all that external stuff. But I want you to imagine for 10 seconds, I'm doing this exercise that Alexis told me to do. And I'm going to walk down the street with my heart open as if this is my belief. Even if you don't believe it, even if you don't feel it, you are going to make yourself feel it. Because guess what? If I told you there's a beautiful bouquet of roses in front of you and I started describing it really, really in depth, you would probably be able to start smelling that rose smell. So anything that you start imagining, you start creating mentally. And so I had the girls do this and I knew that this would come. The responses, horns honking, people waving, people walking next to them trying to get their attention. When your heart is open and when you are in this energy, people around you become so magnetized to you. An open heart is so rare today because everyone is walking around like this. Everyone's been hurt, everyone's guarded, everyone is swimming in the suffering and stress that they're gonna go, nope. My heart is only for one person, only for one family member, and they close it to everybody else. When your heart is open, here's another thing too. People are going to come and find you that you never even saw, never ever. And this is why I love surrendering so much. I love trusting and just releasing control. Your dream partner, your dream friends, most likely they're going to find you, or you are just going to bump into them. You never have to seek out your partner. You never have to seek out a man. When you are in your feminine energy, he will find you. I was reminded of this because the other day, I think it was like a Sunday. Sundays are my days where I wake up, I go for walks, I get in the sun, I get some groceries. And so I had this hairstyle where I braided my hair, one braid here, one braid here. And I'm going to walk and I'm getting groceries. And when I was at the grocery store, I saw this bouquet of flowers and I thought, okay, this would be so cute for my apartment. So I grabbed the flowers, grabbed my groceries, and then I'm just walking back and I'm just looking at the city of Dubai. I'm looking at my neighborhood. There's kids playing, the weather is great. And I'm thinking, God, thank you so much. I'm just so grateful for this life. And mid-thought, this guy comes up and he goes, excuse me, I just had to tell you. He goes, you look so cute with your braids and your flowers. And I just said, thank you so much. And he goes, can you please give me the opportunity to buy you some flowers? And I thought that was so sweet. And I realized my heart was so open in that moment because I was just happy. I was at peace. I wasn't trying to change my exterior. I was truly just trying to change my interior to be in a state of gratitude and to be happy. And this man came out of nowhere. And every time that happens, I'm constantly reminded, never seek out a man. They will find you. My younger self, every time she sought out a man, it never worked. That's the one thing that I wish I could have gone back and told myself when I was a teenager. Never ever seek out a man. Seek out having a heart that is open and he will find you. It is the most beautiful thing. So that was a really, really long remedy to have an open heart. But it just feels that when your heart is open, everything changes. And one of my favorite things that I've ever heard you ladies say is that when you are here watching this video, it feels like your heart is open. That means everything to me and I'm so happy. So thank you so much. Okay, number 2. So number 1 was always having a but what if. And number 2, why people get stuck in suffering is seeking more pleasure than discipline. This one will actually, I'm not even gonna say will, this one is destroying human beings. It is destroying humans today. I have a picture, a very educational picture that I'm gonna show you ladies in just a second. So why pleasure is destroying human beings is because we cannot sit in discomfort. We cannot sit in it anymore. We are so instant gratification focused that if any little thing makes us feel uncomfortable, we distract ourselves. Scrolling on social media, eating, checking exes' social medias, being in toxic relationships that we shouldn't be in. We're numbing this emotion of discomfort because we cannot handle it. And it is scary. It is extremely scary. People are swimming in so much pleasure that it is ruining our happiness and self-esteem. I'm trying not to get ahead of myself here. Okay, yes. So there's so much on this one. This one is actually going to be the most important part that we talk about in the whole video. So pain, when we are swimming in so much pleasure, guess what it is doing? It is increasing our pain. I have a video that explains the scientific side of this. If you like the facts, if you like the logic and the science side, definitely go watch this video. I love the science side because that's where everything really just clicks for me. So I have a video linked in the description already for those of you who are watching live. I want you to watch this video even if you've watched it again. It's called How to Be Happy, Confident, and Disciplined for Good. And what I talk about in this video is the science that talks about as pleasure goes up for human beings, pain also goes up, and that the key to decreasing pain is actually increasing discipline and the science behind that. It is fascinating. I literally ran to make that video as soon as I started researching this. So here's something that really, really blows my mind. We will prolong pain so much that it absolutely ensures pain. What I mean by this, have you ever, okay, think about in school when you would get home from school and then you would have so much homework to do. And then you would lay on the couch and say, oh, I'm just gonna do my homework or I'm gonna do my studying later. I guarantee you, you are never fully relaxed sitting on the couch because in the back of your mind, you're thinking, oh, I'm in pain knowing that I'm procrastinating and putting my homework off. Where we think that we are actually procrastinating and prolonging pain, we are absolutely ensuring that it will happen. Whereas if we do the painful thing in the moment, we're just gonna get it done with. So here's a story from a book that I'm reading that it just blew my mind. I've seen the Titanic, I've learned about the Titanic, but I did not know this story. So did you know that in the Titanic, once it was sinking and alarm bells started going off and people started saying, we've hit an iceberg, we're sinking, did you know that most people did not panic? Most people did not even move. It's not because they were frozen from fear, it's because they let it roll off their shoulders. They were like, all right. Well, deep down, what was actually happening was so much pain from this fear that people kept pushing it off and pushing it off. Okay, I'll get into the lifeboat later. I'll get saved later. What happened is people continued to eat, they continued to play cards, they continued to go about their conversations until water started pouring into every level and until people started panicking at a full level. Then everyone wants to get into the lifeboats. But when the news first spread, it might seem crazy to us. Why in the world would you procrastinate when a ship is sinking? That's not the time to procrastinate. However, it's so easy to judge when we are not in that situation because every single one of us, well, not every one of us, but most of us would have done the same thing. That is why 70% of the people on the Titanic did not make it. It is because of this concept right here. They were seeking more pleasure because they wanted to push off the pain. Another example of this, not having tough conversations because you want to push off the pain. There's so many times when we do this and it's creating more pain for us and in turn creating more suffering. Okay, what else did I want to say? Yes, something else. So I did a fast the other day. I was doing like a 36-hour water fast. And I do that whenever I want to get closer to God, whenever I want to do a reset. So I was doing this day of prayer and fasting. And every single time I fast that week, it's like so much just It's so clear for me. So something that became really, really clear for me is how much I check my phone. And I realized throughout that day of fasting, I checked my phone maybe like 100 times. I know it's bad. And I even made a promise to myself, I'm not going on TikTok, not going on YouTube today. And so I realized that it was my way of trying to distract myself from the pain, because my girls who have fasted, it's not full of pleasure. It's full of a lot of pain, because you're teaching your body that you're not relying on your own strength, you're relying on God's strength. And so I kept checking my phone. And why we do this so much is, you know what I see with my entrepreneurship and my girls who work corporate? They check their emails hundreds of times a day. This blows my mind because I don't do that. I have very, very good boundaries of checking my emails. And when I heard that people check their emails not just 10, 20, 30, but hundreds of times a day, I thought, all right, we need to talk about this, because what we are doing is we are trying to seek dopamine because actually we are low on it. And these ways of checking comments on your social media posts, checking what other people have posted, checking. This concept of checking is a cheap way to create dopamine, and actually it is frying your dopamine. That is why we become so irritable and so impatient at the end of the day, because we have no dopamine left. Perfect example of this. There's a member in my family, one of my siblings, I'll just be honest, and him and I have talked about this, and I asked him, I said, how come when you watch a show on Netflix, you're also scrolling on your phone? Like, how can you do that? And there's actually this concept, I don't know what generation he's in. I think Generation X, I'm Gen Z. And so this, with the new generation, Gen X, there's a concept called the two screen phenomenon or something like that, where humans at this generation are so fried, their dopamine is so fried that they need two screens just to be stimulated. That's how overstimulated they are. And I thought, this is absolutely insane. The way that our generation is becoming is so addicted to pleasure, cheap forms of dopamine. So much pain actually is what we're becoming addicted to, that it is creating a life of suffering. So here's the picture that I want to show you, ladies. So here's a problem with instant gratification. When we cannot sit in discomfort, what happens is we need something else to give us a release, because it's too much to hold discomfort. And I have some actual examples of this in my life. So what did I want to say on this? Okay, actually, I'm going to save the picture for the next point because it goes a bit better. Here's the remedy that I'm going to give for this point, then we'll move to the next point. So here's some remedies, is valuing discipline more than pleasure. Here's an example. On Tuesday, I had a really, really long work day. There's a new project that my team and I are working on, and there's just a lot of mental energy required to put into it. And so after I closed my laptop and I thought, okay, I'm done for the day, I knew I don't have my dinner meal prepped. That was the day that I had to do it. I usually create a soup once a week, and I have that almost every night for dinner. It takes me 2 hours to make. I love doing it, but it requires discipline. And so I thought, okay, I don't really feel like doing this today. I went to lay on the couch. I thought, maybe I'll just order dinner in tonight. And as I'm sitting on the couch, I thought to myself, I am creating pain right now. I got up, put on my apron, got out my ingredients. I'm like, all right, we're making the soup today. I was so glad at the end of the night that I had done that, choosing to be disciplined over the pleasure, because the pleasure is so short term. I would have been laying on the couch for 2 hours and then thought, oh, I really wish that I had this healthy, nutritious soup and that the rest of the week my meals were done. Choosing discipline over pleasure will rewire your brain to no longer crave that instant gratification, but instead to feel so content, so okay with holding pain and holding discomfort. All right, what else? Another example of this. When you wake up in the morning and you hit snooze, thinking that you're giving your body an extra 10 minutes of pleasure, you're really giving yourself an extra 10 minutes of pain. So something that you can do to practice this remedy is tell yourself out loud, when you hit snooze, and not just with the alarm clock, but anything that you do in life, tell yourself out loud, I am choosing an extra few minutes of pain. This is not pleasure. When I wake up, and it's 6:30, that's been my new wake up time to go to the gym. And at 6:30, I can think, okay, snooze, but nope. If I hit snooze, I'm telling myself I'm creating pain for myself. And 99% of the time, I get right back out of bed after I tell myself that. So here's the remedy is create more discipline rather than pleasure. All right. Okay, so here's number 4, or here's number 3. This goes back to the discomfort again. Enjoy sitting in discomfort. Finally, I'm going to show you this picture that I've been talking about. So if you are around the same age as me, you'll remember this movie. There was a movie that I went to see as a kid and it changed my life because I left that movie thinking, I never want to become like that. Can anyone guess what the movie is? While I pull up this picture. Okay, I'm trying to think how to, there we go. Has anyone seen WALL-E? Do you remember the humans in there? Okay, if you haven't seen WALL-E, I'll explain it to you real quick. So in this movie, I forget really what happens. I was just so scarred by these humans. In the movie, the humans have become so careless with the earth that they just pour trash into the landfills without caring the long-term effects of it. They just destroy the earth because they're putting their needs first so much, instant gratification. And what ends up happening is the human beings become so wired for instant gratification that they cannot sit in discomfort at all. And why I said I was scared in point number 2 is because I actually see this happening with the world today. This movie was so spot on, so ahead of its time. So the human beings become so wired to only be available for instant gratification that they sit in these wheelchairs, like in these, not even wheelchairs. Look, they look like spa chairs. They sit in these chairs that are like recliners because walking is too much work. Controlling the amount of food that they put in their body is too much work. It's constantly pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. They're sitting, they're watching their movies on the screen, and actually in the screen, it looks like there's multiple things going on at the same time, which is scary. That's actually how screens are today. And they cannot sit in anything that is uncomfortable. And they get sick, they become super, super unhealthy. They become so sad and so unconscious that they're not creating anything useful. They are not living in their purpose, and they're so disconnected from their body. And it causes a lot of destruction. And so I see this happening in the world today where we cannot sit in discomfort, and I'm very, very scared that that is how our world is going to look like. I don't want to spoil the movie for you ladies, but let's just say they have to end up moving to a new planet because they've completely destroyed Earth from their instant gratification. Okay, so another point on this. How did I even come to realize this point was because I went through something last week where this really, really opened my eyes. So there was an issue with my bank that I was dealing with last week, my US bank. And it was an issue, it was an emergency issue. I needed to call them, I needed to get a hold of them. And so it's like maybe 1 p.m. here in Dubai. I have my phone out, I begin calling the bank, and I get through all those automations. You know when you have to put in your social security number and your card number? I'm like, okay, can I just please speak to the agent by now? Just to receive on the other line, sorry, we are not available. Please call back during working hours. And I was like, what am I gonna do? I cannot wait till, it would have had to have been like 9 p.m. Dubai time just to call them back. And all day I was anxious. I was calling them back again. I was like, is there another phone number that I could talk to? And it hit me, Alexis, you need to learn how to sit in discomfort. So there's moments in my life where this happens and I quickly have to snap back because I do not want to be one of those humans sitting in that recliner chair. And so being able to sit in discomfort is going to save you. And it might seem like that itself is creating suffering, but actually it is the opposite. We are designed, God designed us to be able to sit in suffering. So it's not going to kill you. It is going to rewire your brain to be okay with discomfort. An example of this, I'm more on the introverted side. However, I know that going to networking events, I know that going to group hangouts is beneficial for my mental health and is beneficial for my business. And so when I go to like 3-day conventions or networking events, it's not the most exciting thing for me. Sometimes I dread it a bit, but I know that if I can be in this discomfort of engaging with people all day and being outside of the comfort of my home, being with people that I don't know, if I can engage in this discomfort, I know that I get to go home later at the end of the night and be comfortable. It's pushing yourself out of your comfort zone that is going to create the biggest change in your life. Being at these networking events is where I've met some of the best people, some of my new girlfriends here in Dubai, and I've learned so much that I've then gone and poured back into my own business. So you have to be okay with being okay with discomfort. That is how you're going to free yourself up from suffering. Let's see. So I have the remedy for this. Get scared that if you can't sit in discomfort, you'll be like the people in Wall-E. What else? Yeah. Okay, so that's point number 3. Enjoy sitting in discomfort. And that's pretty much the remedy. You just have to, and when you're sitting in discomfort, like let's say that, let's say that you, okay, this is actually the perfect example. Let's say that you wake up in the morning and you have to turn off your alarm at 6:30, you get in the gym, you get onto your work mode. When you're sitting in that discomfort and maybe you're thinking, I would so much rather be in bed right now, start to say to yourself out loud, this is so good that I am uncomfortable. I am increasing my ability to be uncomfortable. That is going to take you so far in life because guess what? It was not comfortable for me to quit my job and to start my business. Asking for the prices that I set in my business was not very comfortable at first. Starting my YouTube channel, showing up on video, deciding I'm going to do live streams and share things that maybe are going to be a bit triggering, but they're truly from my soul. None of that was comfortable, but now it is. Now it's the easiest thing. I wait till Fridays to live stream because this is like a break. It's my relaxing time. It's my happy time, where before it felt like work and like stress. But because I got so excited being uncomfortable, it increased my ability to do it, and now I can do it at further levels. My girls who are in my programs, the rubber band concept. Think about how you can apply this to your relationships. Think about how you can apply this to your business, to the prices that you set, to the clients that you call in. Your rubber band for the discomfort that you can hold is going to be so great that you are going to be so strong and so unshakable. In my last video where I'm talking about how to deal with negative comments and judgment, my discomfort level for negative comments is here now. I had said that anyone can say a negative comment to me and it will not sting. Whereas the past version of me would have been so affected by it, would have started to question herself. Well, now people can tell me something and I think, okay, there, welcome to feel that way. Alexis, you smile too much. Okay. And so when your threshold for how much discomfort and pain you can take when it grows, you become so unshakable, because now I could get all of these negative comments and I'm still going to be okay with being me. I've built my pain tolerance to be here. Okay, number 4. This one is going to be very, very short and sweet. How people get stuck in suffering is by constantly sharing their suffering. If every conversation that you have, you are sharing some sort of suffering that you are going through, you are addicted to stress. In conversations, when someone asks, how are you doing? Rather than saying, and the first default being, you'll never guess what's going on with me this week. Change it to, I woke up this morning feeling so grateful, feeling so happy. I'm doing amazing. I'm doing wonderful. I'm living in my dream city. I'm at my dream job. I have my dream friends. Whatever it is for you that actually is your truth, that is what you share. And so you're going to replace, the remedy for this one is replace constantly sharing your suffering with instead what feels amazing in your life. I'm so glad that this comment caught my eye. There's nothing wrong with pleasure. So true. and I love teaching how to create more pleasure. It's such a foundation of feminine energy. However, there is a difference in pleasure that comes from beautiful experiences versus pleasure that we're calling pleasure, but it's actually pain. The mask is pleasure, but it's actually not pleasure. That's what we're talking about in this video. So that was number 4, stop sharing your suffering. And I also want to say too that it is okay to vent. It is okay to share. That is what sisters are for. I don't know how men do it. The reason why I've healed out of so many things so quick is because I've shared with my family, with my sister, with my girlfriend. So it is okay to share. But I'm talking about become conscious. You know, when you wake up in the morning and if you turn off your alarm and you hit snooze every single day, it's become a pattern. People do this with how much they share suffering. Every single, you probably know those people, every single conversation, they're suffering somehow. You're going to start becoming aware of when you might be doing that and simply turning it off. Okay, this is the 5th one. So number 5. Oh, wait, did I have one more thing? Oh, okay, actually one more thing before we move to number 5. This goes back to point number 3 about enjoying sitting in discomfort. So here's another remedy for this one. I love this. It is so true. I recently learned this. Research shows that when you begin your day with some sort of pain, some sort of activity that doesn't feel good but is good for you, it increases your threshold to be able to hold pain later throughout that day. So yesterday I signed up for this workout class at my gym, and it was an abs and glute workout class. It was the hardest workout that I have had in a very long time. So hard that I was on the floor, I was doing one of the ab workouts, and I literally felt like I was going to get sick. I started to feel it in my throat. I'm like, oh no, 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 please God, it's my first time at this class. Please not today. And after that class, I was drenched. I was like, I told the instructor, that was amazing. I so needed that. And the whole day yesterday, it felt like the pain that I could endure was so much higher. Any stress that came up in my business, you ladies know it's tax season, looking over those documents, I just felt so ready and at peace to conquer the day. That is literally how I felt. I felt so ready to conquer the day. And so studies show if you begin the first part of your day with something that is painful but good for you, the rest of your day, you will be able to do more of those things. How you begin your morning, it really sets the tone of the day, and this is a beautiful example. Okay, here's number 5 now. My throat is so dry, I don't know what is going on. I just added a humidifier to my cart on Amazon because I feel like it's so dry in Dubai right now. Okay, number 5. This is going to be like a formula. Think of it as a recipe for how to navigate any stress, any problem, any challenge that comes up, any worry. Pillow, accept, next steps. Okay, that's the 3 ingredients to the recipe. Pillow. So you need a pillow for this one. So you ladies know this, that I love screaming into pillows. I love it. It has healed me. It's been a massive part of my inner work journey. When something happens, let's just use, actually I have a story that I'll share with you in a second. When something crazy or something really, really hard happens in your life, pillow, accept, move on. Pillow